friends, are you agree with the universal fact that today's wastage is tomorrow's shortage? This is Praveen and today in this video we are going to learn about the water. Water is an essential part which supports life on the earth. This is a major component or the essential factor which describes that a planet would contain life or not. If a planet has water, it may support life. About 100 years ago, we launched a Hubble Space Telescope, which has gone about crores or lakhs of kilometers away from the Earth, searching for the site of the water or the life exists on another planets too, other than the Earth. We know that life do not exist in this solar system other than the Earth. Recently, we have searched a planet which is which is same in the sense of the distance from the Earth and the Sun, and compared to that planet and with its sun or the star. So distance between is the same. This distance is called a Goldilocks zone. This distance is not too close, just like the Mercury, where the temperature would be very high, and not too far away, just like Pluto, where the temperature would be at a icy cool. This at a moderate distance from the Earth. So distance between that planet and its star is at a Goldilocks zone. About a month before, we searched another planet which contained water, but this is about 14 billion light years ago. So what is in the light year? Let me make it simple for you. If we take up a distance traveled by light in a per second, multiply by 3600 to get distance traveled in 1 hour, multiply by 24 to get the distance traveled by the light in the 1 day, and multiply by 365 to get the distance traveled in a 1 year, and multiply that with 14 billion times. So this is the distance from which that planet is away from the Earth. This planet contains about 12 billion times more water than compared to our Earth. And this planet has an interesting fact that it has two suns, waking at a 1 day and sleeping at a 1 day. So let's move to the origin of the water. Water. We do not know about the first thing about the where does the water comes from. Has the earth found the water, or it sweeps out one fine day? So let's take an option A. So important factors which describes this is the sun. The sun we see now was younger before. So it would have more heat or was more hotter. So any water which has been formed on the earth would be evaporated. So this could be not true. This is just like the scientist thought. So let's try the option B. Option B is so where doesn't water comes from? It comes from the asteroid belt present between the Earth and the Jupiter. This asteroid belt contains the asteroids which contain carbonaceous chondrites, which is the same chemistry of the water present on the Earth. So most scientists thought that this is the reason for which the water comes to our planet Earth. When the water comes to our Earth, this leads to the multiplication or the explosion of the different types of the organisms found on our Earth, including the human beings. Do you know that before the humans were the hunter-gatherers? After they turned into a farmer, This is important because they knew about the agriculture. For agriculture, water is an essential. So how they carry the water from their farm, from the water body to their farm? By the machines or the canal systems dam. This came much later. Before they thought easy to settle down at near a water body. So just like Indus Valley civilization and Harappan civilization is situated on an Indus river, and the ancient Egyptian civilization and the river Nile. So let's move to the forms of the water available. So water is only a thing which exists in all three forms. These are solid, liquid and gas. So which are these? These are solid, liquid and gas. So solid as in icebergs or the found in the glaciers. Liquid as found in the seas and ocean, and gas as a water vapor which is present in the atmosphere. So I tell that all these forms are present on the earth. Can all these forms remain the same at all the time? No. They may change from the one form to another depending on the temperature. If it is increasing, then the solid turns liquid and then turns into gas. If it is decreasing, then the gas would turn into liquid and the liquid turn into the solid. So when the temperature, just like let me take a ice cube, it would melt to become a water. So it melted to become a water. So here the temperature increases. The temperature increases and the process of this is called melting. And then when the temperature further increase, when up to the 100 degrees Celsius, about 100 degrees Celsius about, so this is turned into the gas by the process of evaporation. And let's now do decreasing form. So when we have this gas which is water vapor decreases into and forms the liquid, this process is called condensation. And then we further decrease the temperature by freezing the, so here the temperature is decreasing. Freezing. So here the temperature decrease and form into the solid. And when this goes and change its temperature. So let's move to the availability of the water on the earth. The earth. If I take up the so this is the earth in which about 71% is water and the rest 29% is the land. If we calculate the total land which is present beneath the earth, then the land would be more. But here we are talking about the surface of the earth, which is made up of 71% water and 29% land. So in this 79, in the 71% water, about, so then why we hear the query is that save water, we have enough water to use more than the land. So this is because about 97%, which is 97.5% of the waters are present in the seas and oceans. If you have ever been to sea or beach, you would see it is much the water which contains is salty, so which is not used for the daily purposes or the main purpose drinking. So now we are left with 2.5, which approx 3% of water. Fresh water in this about 67% is freezed or are present in the icebergs and the glaciers, just like the Greenland, Antarctica, Arctic Ocean, Arctic, North Pole, just like that it is present. And in this 30% of this is present in the ground. Then we are left here with 3%. 3% in which about we are available with 0.1 of 0.1 of this, because the another which we are left is present in the atmosphere. So let's do not consider the saline water icebergs. Then let's ask a question: how much percent of water do we have? We have about 0.006% of water available to us. In this, about 70% of the water goes to agriculture and the 20% goes to industries. And the left water we have to use for the domestic works, just like bathing, drinking water, washing clothes, etc. We have to do a bunch of work with the left water 0.06, in which water is left. So let's see, we have got this. The average person uses about 2.5 liter of bucket every day. So let's take an application, because you can waste the water while brushing, or so the water which is waste, let's take an approximation of 3 buckets of water and multiply with the 7 billion, because that is the present population of the approx present population of the earth. So we get about 21 billion buckets. 21% or 21 billion buckets used every day. So we use 21%. So is that 71% remains water remains every day 71%? Yes, the 71% always remains 71%. So we use this much of water, about 21 million buckets, billion buckets. Then why the water do not decrease? Here do not decrease. This is because of a water cycle. Is this a cycle made up of water? No. No, in this the water which we see about the evaporated in the different forms of the water, which is go in the gaseous form and form into which goes on the earth's surface round and round, just like acting as a wheel of a cycle. So this is called a water cycle. So let's learn about the different types of processes. So this is a water body which is an ocean. So because of the sun's heat, the water is formed into the water vapor which is evaporated. So which has been evaporated from the earth's surface, and as we go up, the temperature decreases, the water vapor will decreases above and condenses. So we know that we require a solid particle to condense the water on it. But where is the solid particle in the atmosphere? The solid particle is the dust particles. On these dust particles, the water condenses, and the water cloud becomes heavier and heavier, and then it's rain. Rain is not necessary for always. Sometimes it could be a snow, hail, fog, etc. The process from which the water is returned back to the earth is called the precipitation. Then the some water which has been is the flow on the surface is called the runoff water, and some goes beneath the earth or absorbed by the earth and go beneath the earth, and some of these were the plants taken for the life processes works and humans, so they sweat this again by the process of the transpiration, and this cycle goes on and on again and again, forming a water cycle. So we see in the container, and we put a water and heated the water, all this vanished. But why this ocean do not dried up then? The rivers and valley, the river sometimes also dries lakes, but why these oceans do not rise? Because the water which has been evaporated returns back and again rains, so it forms the same level where it has been started. So this ocean is very big to be evaporated. It would take a long period of time to evaporate or dry. This ocean would be dried up. So let's move to the uses of the water. So where it uses the water? First, the water is uses mainly in the body function. We take in water. The main reason is to transport the substances, to maintain our body temperature. We release the sweat, which is a water, which is evaporated, and we feel cool. So, to maintain the body temperature, to excrete out the wastage, like that way in the different types, just like in the plants, the gum is released with some water. So, these are the forms of excretion taking in the water. Also helps in the dissolution of the manures and the fertilizers, which is then absorbed or taken by the plants for their photosynthesis processes. So then we use the water for the domestic works, just like washing clothes, washing cars, washing utensils, etc. For bathing, for brushing, and for washing homes, etc. A bunch of in the schools, hospitals, for putting out the fire. In many ways we use the water. And then we have the agriculture. We use the water for the agriculture. Agriculture, because we put the manure or the fertilizer which should be dissolved in the water for the in the sense to plants to use it. Then we use for the agriculture in industries. In industries, the some products are made from the water, and some are in which the toxic materials are released in the water bodies. And transportation. In the transportation we also require the water for the transportation of ships like that, and habitat, just like many fish organisms live in the water. So some lives in the marine water also, and some lives in the fresh water also. So let's move to the sources of the water. What are the sources of the water? The largest sources or the book is the rainwater. Then we have is in the groundwater. What is in groundwater? A groundwater is a water which is present below the earth. So what is a runoff? A runoff is when the water is running to the ocean. This is called a runoff water. Just like rivers are examples of the runoff water. Then surface waters are the water which has been stored on a surface. Is called the surface water. Examples are the pond, lakes, like that. And underground water, which means groundwater, is the water which is present below the ground. We see a manhole in which the water in the rainy day sweeps into that and goes into the ground, which helps to retain the ground water level. And the process in which this rain is passed through the soil particles and enter the groundwater is called an infiltration. And the table or the area where the water is present, or this is a layer where is the water is present, is called a water table. And when the layers in between this water table is present is called an aquifer. So distribution of the water. As I mentioned in that the average human use about 3 liters. Is it same for all the humans? No. The people living in the Asia and Africa have to walk average of 6 kilometers to find or see the first sight of the water. So water has been distributed in the different parts of the planet, different parts of the whole the earth, depending on the distance from the water bodies and some important factors about the raining. If a body or the place has more rainfall, the water table would be near the ground, which is like in a Meghalaya, which is recorded for the most of recorded this the most rainfall, in which the water table is about few meters away from the ground. But it is an opposite in the Rajasthan, where it is a desert and the water level is far beneath the ground or is absent or not at all. So what are the reasons for this water table is drying up? Because of in a particular area, if the population increases, so they would require more water, and for this they use groundwater. So the more than the enough groundwater is used, this called the groundwater to finish up. Then if you have ever seen a hand pump to be digged, you see it is a borewell dig like that, and when we put a pressure, creates a pressure, the water comes in after some time. This is because of the pressure. But sometimes how long you pull, the water would be not going to out, because the water level of that has been finished. This could be reason of the more hand pumps or the bore wells they need. Then what are the consequences? And what are the who are affected by this? The humans, the plants, animals are always affected. For the plants, for the animals, humans, we would not have enough water to survive, and which would eventually lead to the death. A average person can go about 14 to 15 days without eating, but only 5 to 6 days without water. So then in animals, just like the humans, this would be the same effect to them, and the plants would dry up because of the deficiency of the water. So how we can conserve it? We can conserve it by a process of the rainwater harvesting. The process by which we conserve water is called the rain harvesting. Just if you take a vessel and put it on your floor when it is raining and you wash your face, concrete, you have make a good use of the rainwater. If we use it as a larger scale, putting a tank or each if you live in an area where it's more raining, so you could keep in every house there is the tanks which store the water level, so which eventually helps the groundwater to increase. So these are called, just like if you take up a building which has a flat floor, it can be connected to the pipes and to the underground tanks, from which the upside rain which is falling on the floor can be collected into the tanks, and sometimes the water flowing on the ground can be also collected in the ground tanks. So friends, let's summarize what we have learned today. We have learned about the origin of the water. Where does it comes from? It comes from the asteroid belt between the Mars and the Jupiter. We learned about the different types of the forms of the water. Then we learned about the availability of the water on the earth. Then the water cycle. Then we learned about the uses of the water, where we use it in the water, just like the domestic works, agriculture, industries, as in habitat, transportation. Then we learn about the sources of water. Where does we get the sources? Then we learn about the runoff water, surface water, underground water. Then we learn about the process of infiltration. Then water table, aquifer. Then we learn about the distribution of the water across the globe or the world. Then we learned about what are the causes of the groundwater to decrease. These are then what are the consequences we take to keep the this what are the effects on the things, and how we can conserve. So friends, I hope that you like this video, and at the last, thanks for watching.